What is going on, guys? Brando here, back with another video, and it's been a while since I've made a YouTube video. Uh, and on top of that, played DC also. Went on a little trip, been gone for a couple weeks, and I'm back now on DC. And there's also been some pretty big changes to artifacts. Basically, this video is going to talk about what I think is will be like the meta setup for DPS and tanking, um, with the new 5 artifacts and no swapping. Will be combat locked, so we won't be able to swap, and that plays a big role, right? Kind of like going back to the beginning of DC, right? Um, you know, we're not it's not gonna be inventory simulator, right? Even like I personally on my DPS side, I was really starting to like get used to it, and I was enjoying it. And I used to be against start swapping, but I started to see like it actually became fun. Um, so it kind of does suck for DPS standpoint, but for other roles, it helps. Like I've never been a troll, really. I've never been a the troll role, but I feel like for a lot of trolls out there, this makes it easier. Um, you are limited to like 5, so like that is like you're slightly weaker for the people that were swapping before, because they were probably getting in like 8 artifacts, as a troll. I'm not sure the exact number, but this will create better trolls. So like for pug runs, for a mix of it's basically gonna narrow the gap, right, for what the elite players, in-game players expect for how for you to be performing a role. This is going to help healing, right? So I foresee like pug runs being better, you know, and this in a way is a good thing when you have a low population of a game. Uh, you want to be able to play with people, and you want there to be a higher chance of them doing their job in that role. So this will make healing easier. This is going to make trolling easier, finding better trolls out there, as long as they're using the right setup. Obviously, it's not going to be how well they're swapping, or if they're even swapping, right? Like there's probably a lot of people that weren't even swapping, and they weren't seen as like good at all. Like you wouldn't want them in your group for the end game players that were getting content raids done fast. They didn't want that. They didn't for healing. They didn't want they don't want a healer that's not dropping greens, right? Well, now as a healer, you can run Page, Purple, Scrap, EOG, right? You can run them all 4, and then you still got an art slot for your 5th. So now it's gonna be nice, right? We're gonna come across um, better heals, trolls, right? For the general population. Uh, so there is positives, right? Another positive too is survivability. We're going to be literally looking at the raid, the fight, the mechanics the whole time, right? Everyone's survivability, it should be better now. I mean, we'll see. You know how it is, right? There's people that still will die, mechs or whatever. But this should definitely help big time. Um, so yeah, so I like for the overall troll. I mean, you could say like if I made like a tier list, right, for nerfing and buffing. Technically, you nerf trolls, but in a way, you buffed the idea of like running into good trolls. Like so, there's like it's like mixed for trolling, right? So you nerfed the in-game trollers, but you buffed the casuals. So it kind of helps balance that. So like I myself, I might get some troll arts just so I know that um, that was a role I didn't like to do. I never did, because there was like so much swapping. I mean, I swap a lot at DPS, right? But it was like for me, I like that kind of swapping. Like I felt the purpose of it. Like I mean, trolling's really good too, you know, but it's just a different kind of swapping, for me at least. So that's why I never got into it. But let's not get carried away, off topic here. So, but just a general idea. Trolling technically got nerfed for the swappers. Healing, it's a buff. I don't see how it's a nerf for with a 5 artifacts. Even if it's combat locked, it's still nice for healers. Um, DPSing obviously a nerf, right? So it's gonna shorten the, it's gonna shorten that gap of uh, of what is considered the end game elite DPS, right? And it's going to kind of narrow it. Basically, it's gonna come down to this, right? Are you using a meta power? Um, are you using the best loadout you can to maximize your damage? Uh, and pretty much, are you surviving? Right? Basically going back to the original stuff in DC, right? A top DPS is someone who was surviving the whole time, right? And he was using the best loadout and just not messing up on your left or right loadouts, right? But still, it's going to come down to using that meta loadout, using the meta power, right? Like there's still going to be the strong powers are going to do better, right? I feel like Prec and Might will be more balanced. Um, a little bit more balanced. Like I still feel like Might with Omega is just really good, right? But we'll jump into that for DPSing. First, I'm gonna talk about tanking. Tanking will be very quick. There's not much to it. Tanking, it's obviously a buff with the 5 permanent artifacts. So, but yeah, guys, I'm gonna talk about just the meta setup that I foresee. Um, that should be what you're gonna want to use. All right, so I kind of have it set up already. So for rage, I'm rage, so I'm gonna go off of. This will be for most powers too, though. So Last Mana Mystic, right? These are what I always ran permanently. So that 4th artifact is for sure gonna be Refractor. Okay, I feel like there's no question about that. The 4th one you're gonna add is gonna be Refractor. This has a bunch of different buffs, that's gonna help the group. The troll needs to be using Tetra, so it's going to buff that for the DPSs, and it's going to give you some health. 5th artifact. So the 5th artifact, this is going to be some options here. I feel like, as rage, I feel like you don't even. I feel like using a tank artifact for survivability is overkill for the 5th artifact. But you technically, if you feel like you're not as good as a tank, right? This is an option to use, right? So you got Everyman, right? That's an option. You got Dead King. You could permanently run Dead King, or I mean, everything's permanent, right? Unless you're swapping armory once in a fight, that's it. You know what I mean? Um, so you got that option, right? Dead King. Another permanent option, another option people might could use as a tank is maybe Mercy, um, or Philosopher's Stone. Um, but I would say impact wise for Rage at least it's gonna be Everyman or Dead King. I would say because Dead King is normally a swap art, right? So out of all the swap arts, I would say for a support role, Dead King would have the big good impact. Um, there is some other artifacts I wasn't gonna mention, but you got Cersei's Mask. It's all stuff they've never been that good before. So like I don't know, Cersei's Mask, Tornado, nothing crazy. Um, but
Do I look like your mum?
it's all options
What are
you
you
could
going on
run.
about?
See, there's Cersei's Mask. Obviously lasso, right? So if there's mechanics with lasso, you're gonna have to have lasso in, or you'll have armory swap for a lasso armory. You know, if you have to do that role as a tank. But we're gonna be combat locked, so um, that's gonna affect some strategies. There's red tornado, and what? Let me double check this one. Powered by a weapon buff, Clarion. Using your power of Clarion, executing weapon attacks heals up to 4. Okay. Yeah, so this could be a heal art, but I'm not talking about healing because I don't know the setup. Like I said, you can look at Zazo's video. But yeah, this is the main setup. Now let's jump into let's jump into like if I was atomic, right? This is for sure going to be atomic setup. It's going to look like this, right? So for sure, these 4 artifacts you're going to use as like an atomic tank because you're all about spamming mass dents, las, manacles, scrap, and EOG. Fifth artifact, I would say boss fights. You would have refractor. Now, if you want that extra, the help with like if there's a bunch of ads, use Mystic, and then you got Everyman as an option. But I don't think you really need to use Everyman. So that's kind of the option there for atomic. I feel like that would be nice. Um, so that's pretty much it for tanking. Like I said, for tanking, it's a buff. Um, in just that, solely talking about tanking. But like in general, obviously, it is like a nerf because we swap all the time, and I believe it's a combat lock. So like that means combat lock, right? I don't think we can swap any gear. I'm not 100% sure on that. I need to find out. But like for DPSs, we do the hand swap. I don't even know if you can swap that because it's a combat lock. So like pretty much everything here that when I inspect myself is all locked. I need to find out. I'm not 100% sure on that, so I'll find out. uh, so yeah, that's for tanking. Like I said, you guys get the idea. Let me organize this real quick. I kind of messed up all this here. I don't even know where I had this stuff. Um, so let me put this over here. All right. So yeah, that is for tanking. Um, Now let's jump into DPS. All right, so DPSing. I talked a brief overview about it earlier. It's gonna still gonna come down to like you want to use the meta powers, and I feel like it's gonna help. This is gonna the permanent, being 5 permanent artifacts and you can't swap. This actually slightly nerfs might. It does. It really does because we use Ebon, and Ebon is like a very important swap for might. So it nerfs might. Might is obviously still strong with Omega, but it puts it closer in line with precision. So you can probably once this update comes out, you can probably go precision. I still don't think it's a good idea. The main reason is because trolls can only use 5 arts. So I feel like that's gonna be like, I don't know. That's it's kind of like, because I think for the troll is gonna have to pick. I don't think he'll be able to run Tetra and Cog, for example. And so I think it's better if, as a community, it just depends on who you're running with, but it's better I think if we kind of stay one power. Stay like might, just because for the troll it will help out, and you'll have like the troll will run Tetra, right? And then he'll run 4 other artifacts that will help that he needs to run. So he has to run bot brand, right? He has to run claw. So that's 3 artifacts. What's the other one? What am I forgetting? I haven't trolled much. Bot brand claw. Um, let me take a let me take a quick look at the, I'm blanking out.
Listen, you don't want to be my mate. My mates end up either worm food or worse.
Okay, bot brand claw. Okay, let me see. That's a possibility, but let me look at the other ones. Bot brand claw. Okay, amulet. So for sure, automatic bot brand claw and amulet. That's 4. That's automatic. Bot brand amulet and claw. Yeah. So honestly, they're gonna. Okay, so the 5th artifact is gonna have to be Tetra, because we're not running Ebon, right? So we're not gonna be as power hungry. So I don't. Trolls shouldn't need to run Parasite's power harness. So yeah, I'm thinking it's gonna be bot brand claw amulet and Tetra. That would probably be the setup. And then let's say it was all prec DPSs in your raid group, then he would run Cog. But I don't know. I still think I still think that'll be the setup. Oh, someone's asking right now randomly. Let me message him real quick. Um, okay, so let's get back to the DPSing now. So this is what I foresee as the setup. Okay, so here's the automatic 2 right here. We don't even need to question it. Trans Omega. This is for my DPSs. Ebon is done. We're not using Ebon. It's not worth it. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about the AOE. This is the AOE artifact setup. So you got this, boom. So what should be the 3rd artifact? So here, let me put the ones out here that are like options that we normally run.
Phantom Stranger's a bit out of touch with reality, but he's okay.
So there's an artifact that could
humor,
be usable now. I'm not sure how good it is. This would have to be tested out. Um, that's the Mort card. I don't even know if it's worth it, but let me just put it as an option. Okay. So here's all the options, right? Five artifacts. So Trans Omega. So this is the hallway setup. So next one, you could do Candle, and this is not using the power of Candle, but using it for the critical ability chance. Strat is not worth it in hallways. Strat before was mainly used for like a swap art. in hallways. Strat is where it's good is in boss fights. So that's why I'm eliminating strat for the hallways. So now we got what, two more artifacts we add. Okay, so I think this setup will be good. I think we actually run Eye of Gemini and we run Scrap permanently in hallways. So that's my pick number one setup right here for hallways. For boss. Now this is following the EOG setup, like the spam supercharge setup. Because we still have the head mod, right? Ultimate supercharge. This is the other setup for the boss. My number one pick. It would look like that. Trans, Strat, Omega, EOG, and Scrap. This is the boss setup for pretty much for every power. uh, and then you're gonna do your normal rotation, right? Okay, so now we're gonna go back to hallways. Here's the other setup I see. This is my number one picks though for like boss and then hallway. So here's some options that like I said, this is gonna have to be like tested, and I'm just kind of guessing at this point what I think. So here's a setup right here. This is going like no EOG or supercharge. Wait, do I have Quizlet? Yeah. Oh, I have Quizlet Wolfpack, but I don't think I have it in my inventory. I would have to go back to my base and get it. Um, so here's a possible setup for hallways. This is like no EOG. This is all just focusing on damage. You know, Lamort card goes with Omega in a finisher setup, and yeah, so this would be the setup. Got Trans, Strat, Omega, Candle, and Lamort card, and then you could use this the same exact setup for boss. You know, obviously your powers of your loadout will change, but I'm talking about like same artifacts. Um, so that would be like a second little setup. Here's another option you could do that could work. So going like this is now we're going back to hallways. So Trans, Omega, Candle, Scrap, but we're not gonna use EOG, and then we're gonna use Strat. And this is what it would also look like for the boss fight. Same as hallways. So that's another setup. Trans, Omega, Candle, Scrap, Strat. So I feel like when you're choosing between Scrap over EOG, I feel like it's always better to run Scrap, right? Like you're gonna get, I feel like, more damage, because the whole idea of when you use EOG, that means you want to be using a lot of supercharges. So that's why if you're gonna have Scrap in your loadout, or if you're gonna have EOG in your loadout, I feel like Scrap has to be in your loadout already. So that's why it's always the second option or one you're gonna use. So your other setup would look like this though. This is no EOG. Trans, Omega, Candle, Trans, Omega, Candle, Strat, Scrap. And like I said, for the boss, exact same. And then if you want to go EOG setup, it's very simple. Hallways, Candle's better. So boom, take out Strat, Boss strat I feel is better. Boom, take out candle for boss. I think this setup will be the best. This is what I foresee. And then we run like for gadgets, you run 2 supercharges, elec, you're spamming circuit breaker. I feel like this will be the best setup. The only thing we're switching is right here. That's it. Candle, strat. Um, but yeah, that's what I feel it's gonna come down to. I personally right now I don't even I'm not even gonna really play on my DPS. I don't even want to be swapping. Um, I want to forget about it at this point. I feel like it's worse just to like go into the update and I'm swapping. So I'm trying to get away from it. Just kind of be tanking up into the DLC, and then when it drops, it's there and out. Because it is a big change. It does suck for DPSing. Because look at all the stuff that I was starting to swap a lot. I still didn't have P Stone at 200. I didn't have Flute. These are my next ones. Was gonna get Flute to 200 and start swapping that. But yeah, I was pretty much every Omega and every Photon Blast for the boss one. I was swapping both, so it was starting to get fun. Like I said originally, I didn't like art swapping in the beginning. If you look at my old videos, they were like it was with it not swapping. But now, I was swapping hand for AOE. I mean, for hallways, I would swap Candle, Dead King for Orb, Mercy for Pets, Scrap for Super, Flute. You would pop and use a power right before you use your supercharge. You got Lies for pickups, P-Stone for supply drop. And then for boss, I would just swap in strategist, and I would swap that instead of candle. I wasn't top swapping. I feel like I couldn't do that fast enough, and it was worse. So I wasn't doing that yet. So, but yeah, it's a big change, guys. Like there is some pros and cons, even as like an in-game player. Um, I still feel there is like some pros, even as like elite players, there is some pros to it. But it's a big change. We just got to get used to. So five permanent artifacts, and we're combat locked, no swapping. Um, so we'll see how it goes. Like I said, overall, as like the community in DC, um, you know, it's it's more there's more pros than cons. Like overall, like just hopping on and playing the game. Um, you know, like I said, we're gonna come across as DC as a whole. We're gonna come across better troller. There's gonna be better trolls out there. There's gonna be better heals out there, right? It'll be easy. They won't have to do any swapping. So trolls, heals, we're gonna see more better of those roles out there, and we're gonna see as a whole, even though it nerfs like the swappers, we're gonna see like I mean like in the end game runs where everyone's swapping, our burn is gonna be slower, obviously. So it's a nerf to that, right? But as a whole, we'll see more better burn, I guess, in a way. So it's kind of shortens the gap, right? It shortens that gap of DPSing. and it's going to come down to meta powers, uh, meta loadouts, left to right, not messing up, and the most important thing is not dying. You know, and that happens a lot when people get into plus. They start dying, and going in your inventory is a part of that. And then, but not all of it. Some people just are not good at surviving. Uh, and then, so yeah, that was every role: troll, heal, DPS, and then tank. Tank, it's going to be a buff for tanking, I would say, if you just look at that individually. Um, but I mean, tanking, I feel like tanking, it doesn't really matter. Tanking, it still comes down to like avoiding damage, countering, doing certain things, you know, and surviving. Um, but the five artifacts will help it. You know, it will help it. Uh, so yeah, guys, that should be pretty much everything. So just kind of an overview at the future meta setup for five artifacts. There's been a lot of other videos out there. I haven't looked at all of them. I barely kind of just glanced over Zazo's. His seemed to be more focused on healing because he has, you know, that's his expertise on that. I'm sure he talked about other roles too, though, and the general idea of it. So, but yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, peace.